All right, everybody. What's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a wonderful, beautiful day, as you can see. But I got somebody that is just as beautiful as the sun outside. I told you that I had a special guest. This is somebody that I really care about. I really adore, I respect, I honor. This is my boo thing, my wife, my partner, Miss Chantel Sherelle. I wanted her to come on today because we talked about this a couple days ago on Family Morning Transformation. So, if this is your first time, let me introduce myself properly. My name is David M. Pinkston, but I go by the name of DMPSpeaks. I am a speaker. I'm a board certified Christian counselor, but I also am a personal development coach for families. Yes.
Sit up a little bit.
Oh, she wanted me to sit up properly. But yes, I decided when we were talking about the topic that doesn't fit our family, I said, I think I did okay. I think I did well with that session, but I said, I need a perspective that is different than mine. I need a female perspective. And I said, who can I ask? And I said, wait a minute. I got the perfect person to ask. Somebody that I see every single day. And that's her right here. Because I feel that she has some great things to say. And I really want her to be a part of this conversation. And I'll tell you why at the end. But for right now, let's get into this. This is part 2 of This Doesn't Fit Our Family. But what we're going to talk about today is, what does it mean to be an authentic family? That's what we're going to talk about. And I need you guys to share this with your family, your friends, your foes, but really share it with some people that you feel they're going to be able to get a nice perspective, not just from me, but from my wife. So what we talked about just a couple of days ago is about not trying to be like other people, right? We always talk about, be yourself, but we're talking about how to not be like other families, because I struggle with that. If I could be transparent, I struggle with that because I tried to be, I wanted my family to look a certain way. I wanted us to drive the certain cars, and there's nothing wrong with that to a certain extent, because then you are putting all this money, trying to dress a certain way, and then at the same time, you losing out on being your authentic self, and especially how your family is and how God has put your family. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, and it doesn't make sense, because you have to be your authentic self in your family, and you should want your family to be their authentic self. So, Chantel, when it comes to authentic family, what does that mean to you? What do you think an authentic family is?
Well, hello, all of social platforms. I have no clue what I'm on right now because this is my husband's realm, and I'm just now getting into this realm of things. But so hello to everyone out there. When my husband asked me to come on and talk a little bit about what his newest topic was, I always take into consideration words. I'm a words girl and I love meaning. And I am a teacher too. So you will feel a little of that in today's conversation. But I had to think, first of all, like, what does it mean to be authentic? And when you look that word up, it means to be not false or copied, genuine and real. And I also thought it was important to consider, what does family look like? Because family can look different for different households. And I know that's a given, but you really have to think about those things. Like, what does family look like? Is it a single mom or dad household? Is that what family looks like? Is it a household where you're partnered with someone and you guys are in union together? And so when you think of, you have to consider those things first. Like, what does it mean to be authentic? And then what is your family dynamic? I want to make it clear, like, family doesn't always have to be like what our family looks like. We're married and, we have a son, but family can be a single mom or a single dad, or it could be aunt, uncle, whatever your family dynamic background is. You have to consider the following things, like, as to like what your family vibe is. And so one thing that I thought about is when you think about the makeup of your household and kind of what your norms are, that comes from backgrounds. And there sometimes are things that are passed down generationally, and sometimes that can be good, or sometimes that can not be so great. But when you're thinking about how you want your family to flow and navigate, and really what your vision is for your household and how you guys live and do life with one another, you have to consider the backgrounds in which have had some influence on how you navigate as a family. And so some things that I wrote down in my notes here is there will be things that have been passed through generations. And so awareness is key there. And so you have to know, like we've had these conversations about our own family dynamics. And for us being a household where there's two of us, we have to think about those things that were great to implement for our family that have been passed down generationally. And we had to think about those things that were not so great generationally that have been passed on our families. And so that we can be true to ourselves on what we want our family to look like and what we want the flow of our household to feel like. So I would say if you're thinking about what your family vibe is, you have to consider that.
Yeah.
You have to consider what the background is. And I also wrote down this, that sometimes first of all, the vibe of your family should come naturally. The way that you do life together should come naturally, but it takes an awareness too.
Speak about that for a second. What do you mean?
Well, I think an awareness, like, let's talk about it for one thing, like anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that throughout the years we picked up, like, okay, why is this reoccurring in our family dynamic?
Yes.
And then prevalent. We started digging backwards and seeing like, oh, this is where it stemmed from. So we knew, being aware that that was something that we no longer wanted to be a part of our family dynamic. Yeah. And so you have to do the work to make sure that you kind of exit those things out that aren't needed, right. And bring things in that are needed. And that's being authentic. That's being true to self. But I think in terms of what you were talking about, replicating, I think we're in a society where we see so much on social media and all these platforms, and you can easily get wrapped up in, I want that. Yeah. I want to look like that. Definitely. I want that for my family. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with wanting certain things for your family. But again, it's an awareness of knowing, am I doing this because I want to replicate, or am I bringing this in because I think this will be great to what we already have? It's right. Gonna, kind of help. It will help kind of build us more into what we want our family to look like. So I think it's just important when you think about being authentic, being true to self, being true to your family dynamic. And also, I think about when advice comes. Some advice is great, but some advice you have to filter out.
Talk about that for a second. Have you ever got somebody that gave you some advice for your family, and they thought they were giving you some good advice, but you found out it didn't help your family at all? It didn't help you at all. It didn't help your family at all.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been moments like that. But I think when we're thinking about people sharing advice, again, that also comes with an awareness. Mm-hmm. So if you're like a single family household, you might get advice in parenting, and that it may be great advice, but it may be more of people wanting to shape your house dynamic to look the way they want it to look. And that's why it's important to be self-aware. Like, is this advice, is this helping improve what we currently have, or is this trying to change it altogether? Right. And you have to know where you're at as a family in that household space on, hey, this really needs to change. So this piece of advice would really bring about the change that I know we need. Mm-hmm. Or is this piece of advice trying to really shape us to be what this person wants us to look like versus what we know what our vibe is?
I'm gonna throw this at you. When God put this family together, and you see how I kind of carried myself, do you feel that, trying to see how to say this, because I don't want to get myself in trouble, but did you feel like I was authentic? Like, of course I wanted to put the family together, but do you feel like I needed to work on certain things when I came into this family, this ready-made family for myself? Like, do you feel like I needed to work on some things, or did you feel like I was ready to have a family?
If I'm understanding your question correctly,
Yeah.
I think everybody has something to work on when they come into a union.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the piece where I'm saying, well, that's the piece about advice, right? Is that changes are necessary.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't take a piece of advice and apply it to your family the way that you feel it needs to be applied. But it takes an extreme self-awareness to not be navigated in a way where somebody is trying to make you become the family that they want you to become.
Yeah.
That's again, this goes back to our title about being authentic. You have to remain true to what your makeup of your family is.
Right.
And there are things when I go to my friend's house that their family may do or say to one another or interact that necessarily our family doesn't do. Doesn't make them different. They're being genuine and authentically themselves. And so awareness is key. I think that's the biggest thing is when you're thinking about your family dynamic, or if there's things that you want to shape or want to be better, you know, you need to be aware of where it is that you need to grow and build as a family. And knowing what advice to take is kind of like, you know, take the meat, spit out the bones type of thing with situations. And so you have to know what to take in and what to put out. But to answer your question about you needing to do things, I think everybody, no matter what you go into, there's always some changes that can be made. Things can be shifted to be your best self. And for terms of today, be your best family.
I asked that question for a reason because I'll be honest, at first I was super nervous coming in and getting married because, of course, I've never done it before, and I didn't know what to expect. I really had to do some soul searching, and I had to be more self-aware of it's not about me, it's about this family and what do I want my family to look like. Not so, and I was wrapped up in the persona at first. Oh, she's a school teacher, I'm this, you know what I mean? Like, but that had nothing to do with the family dynamic. It had nothing to do with who we are, right? Who we are, we're laid back kind of people. We're hardworking people. We're entrepreneurs now. We're doing some amazing things. But one thing that I love about this family, this authentic family, we find a way to have and make memories. My wife used to say this to me all the time. Okay, we got to take pictures. We got to make memories. And I just be like, we could do that later. But one thing at our wedding, and then as we started to grow, I said, wow. I started looking at some of the pictures with my dad, which is, he's not here anymore. And then my sister eventually now, and then she's not here. And I said, wow, I'm glad that I was able to take certain pictures to have those memories, because I feel like my family now, because now it comprises of my wife, my son, now my mom, now my niece, even though she has her own place. My family dynamic has changed a little bit, but the core thing about my family and being authentic, we truly, truly love one another. We might fuzz and fight just like any other family. We might disagree. I might disagree with her. I might not agree with her about everything, but we have authentic love. And I feel like a lot of families need to be more honest, be more open. If you have some issues, work on those issues, but make sure that you have love and that you implement peace in your home. A lot of families don't have a lot of peace because they're not working on having that peace.
Why did it freeze?
I'm not sure, and this is what I hate this computer sometimes.
All right, we're having a little bit of
some issues.
Is it going on?
I don't know why it does that. It hasn't done it in a few days.
All right, we're gonna rock this out as if people are still watching. And that our screen is just frozen. But let's see what you got going over here.
Move that back.
You said something earlier about coming into union, and that's one thing that I think about too, is when you are coming into relationship with someone, sometimes it's just easy to replicate what you've already known.
Yeah.
in your previous family,
Yes.
you know, experiences. But so it is on here.
We're going to do that.
It's no feedback.
Feedback. Give me 1 second, everybody. We have some laptop. Give us 1 second. Little feedback. There we go.
Oh, I like that better.
Yeah. You guys give us a second. It's technology. Matter of fact, this is what I'm gonna do.
Should have went off.
Hello?
I think that takes care of it. But really quick, because I know we're like kind of meeting our time really quick. I think the thing that we just wanted to just talk about today was just what it means to be authentic. You kind of reflecting in this conversation on what does your family dynamic look like, and what does it look like for you guys to be truly yourselves without trying to need to replicate anyone. Looking up to people and aspiring certain things is not a bad thing, but you have to be self-aware that you are not trying to duplicate.
Yeah.
And I think that is, you have to be aware that you're not trying to carbon copy.
Yes.
And I don't know if I even said that right, but
yeah,
that's the goal. But one thing you said earlier was this: you were talking about like when we got married and you didn't know what family looked like for you. And I think that is a process, because if you are someone who is going to join, you're joining with somebody in union, you need to also think about the experience that you're both are bringing to the table.
Right. And
even from that, you still have to pick apart and figure out what does it look like for your family.
Right.
Sometimes you come in, like you say, you coming in as the male, you obviously hadn't had a family before, and all you had was the background that you knew.
Yeah, from my own parents,
right.
My sister, my niece.
So when you're thinking about those things and you're coming in and joining households per se, like
blended family,
you have even in that.
Right.
You have to make sure that you are taking pieces apart so that you can become the authentic in your family.
And I had to learn how to be a father. I authentically had to learn how to be a father and not push it. That's one thing that I love that I was able to do with my son. I didn't have to force my relationship with him. We build a relationship together, right? With time and patience. And one thing I can tell you that it's one of the best things that I have ever done. Some people are afraid to have a blended family, and a blended family is not for everyone, but I'm going to say it's been a tremendous blessing for me personally as a man, because I was able to meet someone that was just amazing. And I'm talking about her, but also meet my son at what, 3.5, 4, something like that. 3.5. It's 3.5, 4.
We always debate about that.
Yeah, something like that. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I look at my own family dynamic and how I was able to create my own and still creating, right? Still adding to it. And the foundation of this family that God has allowed me to have and build is on the principles of God, love, affection, memories, and growth. A lot of families suffer. Like, okay, I work with some youth, and some of their stories that I've heard, it breaks my heart, because they haven't had that foundational family dynamic like some of you. They haven't had a real relationship with their mother or their father, don't know who they are. And they're out here.
I just have something to say to that. I think, again, that's the point, right? Yeah. That's why I started off with saying, what does it mean to be authentic, and what does family look like? Right. Because again, I don't want the title to deter people to thinking like family looks this one way.
No,
and
it
again,
doesn't.
that's why that authentic piece is connected there.
Correct.
Because for somebody who maybe does not have a connection with mom or dad,
Correct.
But has connection with siblings or cousins, like
Yes.
that's family too.
That's still family.
And so I think, you know, the biggest thing is family and doing life with the people that you love, whatever that looks like for you. It's important to always be real in what the makeup of that looks like and what doing life together with one another looks like. And again, building, because it's going to be a forever.
Oh, you got to build.
There are things that you'll put in place that are just like your traditions, but there's a ever growing process with that too, because what we looked like 10 years ago as a family,
it's totally different now.
Well, we haven't been together 10 years fully. We dated,
well, kind of, yeah.
But what we looked like 5 years ago as a family looks different than what we look now. We still have certain principles for ourselves that we stand up, that that's our foundation, and that makes us authentic, right? And I think that's just the biggest thing. Authentic is just being true to yourself, your family vibe, and not letting anything come in between that. Just like a marriage, right? Because you'll get marital advice too from people, and you have to know. You have to be self-aware. This is why it's important to be self-aware. You have to know what to take and what to leave in the conversation.
Right.
So, yeah, I just think that this topic is something that we could talk about forever. Yeah. I think today is just more diving into, leaving people with the mindset to reflect on, like, what does family look like? What is there something that you want to change to be more authentically yourselves, and just be careful not to have to duplicate.
And the biggest responsibility that I want to just give to you all as we close and thank you and share this with someone, the sole responsibility I want you all to have for your families is, what is it supposed to look like for you? Now, we're giving you some pieces. What is it supposed to look like for you? What is your family supposed to look like for you all? Just make sure that you keep your family at the head of your mind, thoughts of your mind. When you are, whatever decisions that you're making, whatever choices that you're making, make sure that it's authentic, that you're going to think about not just yourself, but your family. Because like for me, everything that I do, where I go, I'm thinking about how is it going to affect my family, my health. That's one of the biggest things. I have to lose weight. I got to get more into the gym, because I'm thinking about my livelihood and how is it going to affect them. I want to be authentic and say, hey, you need to really think about something. And I could be honest really quick. I used to be a little selfish. Am I right?
Yeah, we discussed that.
But no, seriously, I've thought about what I need to do, and I need to do that, and I need to do this. And she told me, she said, that's great, but what about us? I said, ooh, you're right. What about us? I had to change my perspective. This is years ago, of course. I've done a lot of growing. I've had to change myself so that I can be more authentic for my family. I need to be more honest with myself and do some personal development so that I can grow. So I'm going to leave her with the last words, because she knows I can talk.
Oh, yeah.
But what would you like to say to the people as we close today?
I would just say, take that time to reflect, because I think we all have these spaces where we want things to change and we want to be a certain way. And so I would say, ask yourself the question on, why do you want the change? Do you want the change because you're trying to replicate or duplicate? Or do you want the change because you absolutely know there needs to be a shift in your family dynamic? So think about that, and then be patient to grow and build genuinely, and being true to yourself, being true to the relationships that you have in your family, and being committed to just being better. So that's what I leave everybody with.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Again, share this with someone. But here's the thing. This is what I wanted to talk about at the end of this. Sorry for all of the issues that we were having. But we're going to be back on next week on Saturday at 10 a.m. That's right. I'm bringing her back.
You're dragging me in.
I'm dragging her in.
He knows.
I guess.
But I'll stop there.
I feel that this is going to be something great because you're not going to just hear my perspective. You're going to hear my wife's perspective. We're going to talk about a lot of topics that's going to come up. Just stay tuned because we got something great. Me and her, this dynamic duo, we got something great for you guys. I love you. And I'll see you all on Monday for Family Morning Transformation at 7:30 a.m. Tell them bye, babe.
Toodles.
See y'all later.